CataractCoach.com. Technique of using Piggyback IOLs, including accuracy in Piggyback IOL power determination. So this patient had cataract surgery a few months ago, very highly hyperopic. We're just going to open up the main incision, slightly enlarge it, and now we're going to put viscoelastic under the iris, small aliquots of viscoelastic to expand the ciliary sulcus to give us more room. You can see the original IOL there is in the capsular bag. It's a single-piece monofocal acrylic. Here comes the piggyback lens, 3-piece lens. Now, leading haptic going in, there's the number 7. That's the shape of that haptic. And then the trailing haptic is the capital letter L. That's our 7L rule to ensure the IOL goes in the eye correctly. Very important that the IOL does not go in upside down. It must be this anti-S orientation. If it's the S orientation, remember, S is stupid, because these are haptics that are angulated at the optic, and you want this lens to sit a little bit more back away from the back of the iris. So if you put the lens in upside down, you're going to bring the edge of that optic of the piggyback lens too close to the iris. So very important, get the lens in the correct orientation. Now you can remove the viscoelastic, and the rest of the case is pretty straightforward. So why do we do the surgery this way? The patient had a very high degree of hyperopia pre-op. And so when we calculated out, the patient needed a more than 40 diopter lens. And so what did we do? Well, the patient also needed a high astigmatic toric lens. So we put in the max power toric monofocal lens we had, and that's in the capsular bag, and then we let the eye heal up a little bit. Now, once the eye heals up, now we can determine what's the residual refractive error by just doing a refraction, right? And then we can calculate the piggyback lens power. Now, there's plenty of room in the sulcus. Remember, you took out a cataract that was 4.5 or even 5 millimeters thick, and you replaced it with a man-made IOL that's only about 1 millimeter thin. So certainly getting a piggyback lens in shouldn't be too much of an issue. I prefer doing it in a staged approach like this just because it's going to be more accurate. There's a little triamcinolone to help quell the inflammation in the post-op period, a little aliquot of moxifloxacin, again for endophthalmitis prophylaxis, and seal up the incisions, and the patient has a really nice outcome and a very accurate result. Now, let's talk about some of the math here. How do you calculate this? Well, the hyperopic fraction that this patient had, you multiply that by 1.5. So if the patient had a post-op fraction, let's say of +2, then you put in a 3 diopter lens. If the patient had a post-op fraction of +4, we're going to put a 6 diopter piggyback lens in. And this is pretty accurate, thanks to Jack Holliday and Sam Maskett for their insights on this. Now, what about myopic surprises? It's a piggyback IOL power, and you multiply 1.25 times the prescription, the refraction. Why? Well, you want to avoid that post-op hyperopia. So again, if your patient has a -2 result, then you want to put a -2.5 diopter IOL. But be careful; these patients actually may do better with LASIK or PRK because these minus power lenses are meniscus designed with very thick edges. And what happens? Look at this. Here's a patient who had a 3-piece minus power lens placed in the sulcus as a piggyback lens primarily. And you can see there's 360 degrees of iris transillumination defects with UGH syndrome, uveitis, glaucoma, hyphema, constant irritation on the back surface of the iris from that sharp edge of a minus power lens. So what are the models we have? Well, none are really FDA approved for this indication. We have acrylic 3-piece lenses that can cause iris chafing, especially in minus powers. Silicone 3-piece IOLs with rounded edges are pretty good. You may even want to consider using a phakic IOL for a larger myopic refraction, or maybe even IOL exchange. Now the question is, at the time of surgery for a very highly hyperopic patient, yes, you can do a primary piggyback lens. And here we have our guest surgeon, Michael Patterson, showing us how to do that. There is the original lens going in the bag. This is a 6.5 millimeter acrylic 3-piece lens in the capsular bag. And then now, here's the piggyback lens, and this is a 3-piece silicone lens being placed with the haptics in the sulcus. And once that's done, then the optic will also be captured through the capsular axis. Now, there are also potential issues with piggyback lenses, in particular, interlenticular opacification. So between the two optics, you can get some debris or cells growing, etc., and it can cause some opacities. So that can be an issue. Now, look at this case. Here's a patient who has an IOL on the bag, and now look what's happening. Another lens going in, and this is a lens designed for the sulcus for piggyback placement. No, it's not available in the USA. So this is thanks to our guest surgeon from Germany. And we can see once that's placed, look carefully, that piggyback lens even has rings in it for multifocality. So that's a really neat option. You can place this lens there. So we don't have all the options that our colleagues do across the world. We have to kind of make do with what we have. What we have is lenses that are not really designed for piggyback placement or sulcus placement, but we can certainly use it as such. And of course, that's all surgeon judgment. Here at the end of the case, that's a really nice result. And if the patient doesn't like that multifocality, you can always take that lens out. Kind of a neat idea here. So again, piggyback lens in summary, hyperopic refraction times 1.5. That's how you calculate it. Myopic refraction times 1.25, but maybe laser vision correction is better. Avoid primary piggyback IOLs for high hyperopes because it's harder to calculate. It's not that accurate. And a 3-piece silicone lens is a good choice, or some 3-piece acrylic lenses work also. So these are my summary points for piggyback IOLs. Thanks for watching, and be sure to check out CataractCoach.com. I got a new video every day and a new podcast every week.